you have this group of people who are trying to figure out what should they do next, and it's like job that's being pushed down their throat. But you were very practical in saying, I have these student loans that need to get paid, and if this is an opportunity to do that, then I'm willing to step into kind of the unknown, even though you had a little bit of experience with it with your older sister, so I'm sure that helped. But you were very practical, so your decision to join the military was a practical one. It wasn't you always wanted to be in the military or anything like that. It was just like, I need, it's a means to an end. How do I get these loans paid?
Period.
Welcome everyone to Life Unlearned. My name is Zenitra Perry, and I created this platform as a way for us to explore the expectations we have for life, and then kind of going through the process of all the things that we had to unlearn in order to create the life that truly worked for us. So I'm very excited to get started with you guys today. I have with me my wonderful guest, Miss Teia Stafford Coleman. Welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone.
So let's just dive right into things. My favorite question to ask everyone: when I think about my life, I used to think, fill in the blank for me.
Mm. When I think about my life, I used to think that it was easy. I used to think it was easy, and I believe that just come from watching my mom. When you don't know the behind the scenes, you're not an adult, you're a child. Like you're like, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that, but you don't know what it takes to get there. And of course, I learned the hard way that it is not easy.
Adulthood, there's nothing easy about it. Like, I don't know that like you can put adulthood and easy in the same sentence without
No
putting
man.
not in there. Like, it is truly ghetto, as
Yes.
they call it, but we love it. Um, so thinking back, you talked about being, the younger version of yourself. Who was little Tia? What did she like? What expectations did she have for the world? Give me a little insight on little Tia.
Oh man, little Tia. When I think back, it take me back to Newtown. When I was born into a home where it was two parents, but I was raised by a single parent by second grade, and little Tia was very insecure, um, just very scary, fearful. Um, I wanted to be a ballerina. As I kind of evolved into like fifth grade, sixth grade, I wanted to be an attorney, but early on, I just wanted to be a ballerina. I guess cheerleading came very close to being a ballerina because that ended up being my thing. But I was very, very insecure and very, very fearful. Didn't look like it on the outside, but on the inside, that is really what I carried for a number of years.
Well, that's interesting because you said it didn't look like it on the outside. What do you think people saw? Because you said it didn't look like it, but what did you know internally? Like, what was the difference between those two perspectives?
So I was raised by strong women. I have four sisters, even though one of them is younger than me, and then my mom. And so and then like I feel like in the black culture, like we just have to go along and get along. Like we just keep pushing through and plowing through. And so I'm number three of the four, and I only seen them be strong. Like I never seen them, be weak and then cry in front of people. Like they just do none of the things. So I was just following what I saw, but internally it goes back to that fearful. I was scared as ill in a lot of situations, but I had to keep going. Like I felt like if I showed my insecurity or my just me being scared, that they would lash out on me
Hmm.
because we don't have the space or the time to be scared and insecure. Like we got to keep going. So
Right.
I keep on.
What were the areas that you were secure in? Because even though we all have our own insecurities, there tends to be something that either we do well, that someone recognizes in us. What are some of those things that you did well as a child where you did feel secure even as a fearful little girl?
Academics. And when I started cheering, that was I look at cheerleading now, being an adult, that was my therapy.
Mm.
Cheerleading it was like an escape from the reality of things. I was really good at it. And then academics was, I would get I remember getting an award. I remember in elementary school, like in third grade, I got like a multiplication award. I still have the trophy for it. But like I was just smart. Like I didn't. It was big for my mom, but like me, I was like, oh, okay. Like I do this. I've been doing this. Nothing. I got like the highest score on like an EOG in fifth grade. It was a big deal in the program. I didn't. That didn't bother me. Like I was like, okay, like I should have got that. Like I mean, that was just I was good at academics.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other things, that may have been going on at home that I was like, child, listen, school was my safe place. Let's say that.
Mm-hmm.
School was, so I excelled in my safe place.
And what was the cheerleading side? How did you discover cheerleading and then discover that you were good at it?
Oh man. So my older sister, Sharika, she started cheering first. And of course she's the sister that's right ahead of me. So like I'm really attached to her. So I'm really following like what she do. And so she introduced me to cheerleading. And once she introduced me to it, it was a wrap. When we was in middle school, we couldn't try out in fourth and fifth grade. We had to wait till we was going into seventh grade to try out. So I just could not wait till I tried out. And so when I tried out at the end of sixth grade for seventh grade, the high school cheerleaders was the ones that was teaching us the material. And I'll never forget, it was two of the girls, like when they was teaching us the material, it was like, that's Sharika Stafford little sister. They was like, she good. And so because they said I was good, my sister had already told me I was good. But when
Right.
they said it, it was like, oh, okay, this is, you know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't seen nothing yet. I'm just starting. And I just stuck with, like, it was my thing. I found something that I was really good at outside of being smart.
And you talk about folks entering into kind of cheering or sports athletics in fourth grade at really young age. You went on to do competitive cheer as well,
Yeah.
but you didn't start cheering until seventh grade. Like, what was that like moving from the traditional school scene to more of the competitive scene? And then knowing that you came later, did you feel insecure in those spaces as well? Or did that compliment that those high school girls gave you, did that take you far, even in the competitive scene?
That's a very great question. I started all-star cheerleading going into ninth grade. And I was intimidated because they knew how to tumble. I didn't even know what tumbling was. We call it flipping or backflip, but they called it tumbling. And so, or gymnastics. I didn't know what that was. So like I couldn't do that. And I was afraid because I was going into high school. Like at that time, like we not learning how to flip backwards. You kind of are a daredevil when you're a little younger and they kind of train you. And so I was intimidated in those settings because it wasn't a lot of people that looked like me. It was only me and one other black girl. So I knew that I was good. Like I just had to observe how All Star Cheerleading was run. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what was the ins and outs of it? And I was like, okay, I can do this, and this, but I can't do that. Like, that ain't my. So then I just started learning, or I think it really come from spiritual, like going to church. You hear certain things, like, you're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be good at everything. And so I was like, oh, bet. Tumbling is my weakness. But these motions, these jumps, this stunting, like I'm strong, like I'm always the strongest one on the team. Like I just knew I had to excel at every other aspect of cheerleading. Tumbling just was not gonna be my thing.
Wow. That's amazing that even at that young age that you were able to assess this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at, and then focus on the things that you are good at, right? Like you didn't beat yourself up about not being able to tumble. You were just like, I'm just going to be the best. I'm going to have the sharpest motions. I'm going to be the best stunter. Has that shown up in other areas of your life?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's not really until I'm sitting here talking about it and processing it with you, honestly, that I've been able to take that lesson and apply it to other areas of my life. So when I started cheering in college, when I tried out for cheerleading in college, I was an alternate. I had never been an alternate in my life in cheerleading. And so I laughed and then I didn't go back because I was like, I didn't feel like I was good enough. I was like, oh, well, if I'm an alternate, because I'm not going to be sitting on the sideline. And so I quit. But then the coach came and found me. And so me in college, I can't even really put it into words. So you remember I was talking about how smart I was, but in college I had a son. So now I gotta work and add these other responsibilities, and I had to understand, like Tia, like, okay, I just need you to get at least a C. You gotta pass the class because you gotta graduate. And so I didn't put a lot of energy into academics because I had to work. and work became the priority because I had a son to take care of and I had bills. But that was the first time I really had to balance life, like work and life. So when I started cheering in college, I was like, it's gonna be something that I want to do, something that I have to do, something that I need to do. And so
Mm,
cheerleading, of course, was something that I wanted to do. That's
right.
how I defined the work life balance. And then college, I felt like I needed it.
Mm,
And then work, I had to work.
yeah.
Like it just was not like I had to. And so I categorized all of that because I was trying to make sense of me cheering instead of studying at night. But after a long day of working and going to school, like I just needed an outlet, and cheerleading was my outlet.
Outlet. Okay, now where does the military fall into college, high school, had a kid, cheering in college? Like, okay, where does the military fall in?
Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about my oldest sister. So I got the sister right ahead of me, Sharika, and then the oldest one is Nikki. So Nikki, she went to UNC Charlotte, and so she kind of planted the seed of the military. And I was like, girl, I'm not going to nobody military. Like I'm not you. Like our life is already different. I got a child. You don't have no children. Like it was just a lie. And I started at UNC Charlotte. I was paying for it myself with grant, student loans, all these things. I got to the end of my junior year, in that summer, I had stopped working at Target. I had worked at Target the entire time. And I was like, I got to figure out what is next. Because I could have graduated in 3.5 years, but I did the 4. And so I was like, what's next? So I started, like, I was in summer school at UNC Charlotte, and I just started, like, planning, not realizing that I always had a level of anxiety, which is why I was planning a whole year out. Because
Mm,
I got a son to take care of. I love my mama, but the goal was not to go back home. I had to figure out what was the plan. And that summer, I considered the military. I went back to, because I joined the ROTC program at UNC Charlotte and did not like it. I didn't like putting on the uniform. I didn't like shining my boots. I didn't even never been to the cleaners. You got to take a uniform to the cleaners. I said, that's too much. I already work, cheer. I can't do it. I don't have time. So I quit. I was like, I finished that semester and I was like, yeah, I'm not joining the ROTC. Don't worry about it. That's not for me. Well, here I am a year out. I'm thinking about it. I'm going to class, Zenitra, and I see a sign on my way to class that says we'll pay up to $65,000, in student loans. And I'm like, that look good. That's very okay. Bet. I get out of class, get in my car, and it's a commercial on the radio about the military. Join the army, they'll pay up to 65,000. Okay, all right. And I'm a spiritual person, so that's 2 times. My hand to God. I got home. I didn't stop nowhere. I went straight home, went in my room, turned the TV on, a commercial. My mama was asleep. I didn't say anything to her right away, but I knew when that commercial came on, that was 3 times in one day. I said, "Oh, I'm getting ready to go sign up for the military because somebody gonna pay for these student loans." That's
right.
it. That's all I got. I went and talked to the RTC person the next day. Zenitra, this probably happened within a week. I remember I told my mama, I already had a sister that was in the military. She was deployed. My mama was already scared and fearful of, all the things. But I was like, I won't leave for like next year if they send me. But the way these student loans set up, I need them to pay it. And within a week of that day, I had joined the military. And it was called a delayed entry program. So I had to still finish my senior year, check in with the recruiter throughout the year, don't gain no weight, you got to do all these different things. But it gave me a peace of mind knowing that when I graduated that next May, I already had a plan.
Right.
Just because you have a degree don't mean you're going to have a job.
So let's talk about entering into the military. What expectations did you have? And then what did it look like once you got to the other side?